Hello folks, I hope you're having a great day today. Today I want to take a look at the third book in this series, The Sword of the Dawn. And The Sword of the Dawn is a little bit of a different book in the series because the first two books have such a vast pace. But the third book feels like it's a little down a little bit. The fourth book will pick up though. It's like super fast. It's like Moorcock was like, I want to get back to my normal speedy pace of writing my books, and so forth. But the third book, Sword of the Dawn, feels downright slow compared to the other ones, although it would still be rather pacey. It's like 130, 140 pages and so forth. But this is the third book of a four-part series in Hawkmoon. This book was written in '68. And it was originally published, I believe, as The Sword of the Dawn, and it remains published as that to this day. And this is, I think, one of the most, I think, of the Eternal Champion series, where there are many of these different planes, where there's this battle between law and chaos, and there is this avatar, this Eternal Champion, who serves the balance and fights between law and chaos. And so that's basically what's happening. And on this plane, Dorian Hawkmoon is the Eternal Champion. He doesn't know it, he doesn't realize it, he doesn't care about being the Eternal Champion. But basically he's being forced between these two different sides. And so what's happened, this has basically a post-apocalyptic fantasy feel to it. There's a lot of science fiction, and there's a lot of fantasy, and there's a lot of science fantasy. So crystalline structures that lead to magical powers and so forth are very much a key part of the world building of this area. You're also going to see it with a number of sort of magical items, magical constructs, constrictions, the creatures they're attacking, and so forth. It also has, obviously, a real world place. The names, the maps, the map is Europe. The real name places are going to be things like Londra instead of London. Or the bad guys are Granbreton instead of Great Britain, and English people and so forth. So there's a lot of this sort of real world sort of concepts that make it seem like it's in the far future, in a sort of a post-apocalyptic world where many of our place names and so forth may still be there, but they've been corrupted by time. So anyway, that's kind of some of the world building. Now let's kind of get you pushed right on into the thick of it. We finished up at the end of the second novel with a siege of the Camargue, which is the center of, and the last basic thing in Europe that's not under the control of the evil empire Granbreton. And in this, at the end of the siege, in order to get out of it, basically what happens is that Dorian Hawkmoon, who managed to secure a piece of equipment that would send a city to another dimension in order to escape Great Britain out in the east, in Ukraine, they're going to end up doing it again for the Camargue, and the Camargue has escaped. And now now the Granbreton is going to try to find what's happening and where these people have gone, and to track them down. In the meantime, all of Europe is now under the control of Granbreton, and they're continuing to push their control into the rest of the continents and the rest of the world as well. So that's basically what's happening. That's basically where we are at the start of the story. So we're going to be basically starting the story, and for the first time we're going to kind of see some of the world building of the evil empire, and you're going to get a chance to meet the emperor, the god emperor Huon, Flanna, who is one of his countess, who's related to him. You've already been introduced to Baron Mulidus and Davik, and some others too, but you're going to be meeting more and more people. You're going to have scenes and chapters that are set in Londra that are going to be doing some world building, some scene setting, and so forth. And again, I think that Moorcock probably realized that he really was pushing the get into the battle stuff fast and the plot line super hardcore. And so now that our heroes have been temporarily removed from the world, now what we're going to do is hit the pause button and say, okay, well, let's build the world. Let's see what's happening in their absence, all right? Let's check in on the bad guys. Let's see who they are. Let's take a look at Londra. And so you're going to have scenes, chapters, and so forth, where you're getting to see some of this inter-empire conflicts that are happening, the politics behind the scenes, backstabbing literally and figuratively, bed swapping, and so forth. That's happening as a part of the various things. Now, Baron Mulidus believes he's been the basic thorn in both Count Brass, who rules the county, as well as Dorian Hawkmoon. He's been basically the good guys' major sort of antagonist for the first few novels. He believes that they're going to come back at some point in time. So what he needs to do is to track them down now. So he starts setting up different people. He's doing some research into it and so forth. There are these diplomats that will arrive from the far east, from one of the major nations there that have arrived. So they're kind of ambassadors and so forth. So Baron Mulidus will be sent. He's going to be kind of host. Flavius also going to be reaching out to him too. And then you're going to find out, surprise, surprise, that they're actual Hawkmoon and Davik who have been transported out of the Camargue and so forth, and they're and then you're going to start to find out what they're doing and some other stuff that's happening too. And that's about 45 or 50 pages of the way through a 150-page story. So I'm going to stop you right there, and then we'll come back to the fourth book and get you caught up with what had happened up until now. But basically what's going to happen is that again, we're going to get this sort of key concept that our central characters, our servant, particularly Hawkmoon, is a servant of the rune staff who is this sort of mysterious object that represents balance in his world. And so as the Eternal Champion, he serves the rune staff. The rune staff is calling for him, and he's been gathering these various items. The Mad God's Amulet. His next one's going to be the Sword of the Dawn, which is what the book is titled after. In fact, the whole second part of it's going to be the quest for the Sword of the Dawn and what happens after they find it. And then you're going to move on to the fourth book, the Rune Staff, which is going to be, surprise, surprise, where they find the rune staff and start using that too. And so you have these different quests for items and so forth. And the world building that happens, although the second one was just one he came across. It wasn't actually like a quest for the Mad God's Amulet. He was fighting to free Ysilda. Anyway, he was the big bad in the area and so forth. And his beloved was one of the prisoners there and so forth. So again, there's this great world building that's going to happen and as well. And you're also going to see some of the places outside of Europe for the first time. You're actually going to go over to America, which is called Amherst. So you're going to know you're out there. You're sort of, corrupted words from the future and place names and so forth. But anyway, I'll pause you there. It's definitely a fun read. And again, it's 150 pages. It will not take you that long, maybe 3 hours to read it the whole time. Maybe 4 if you really want to slow down and start to do some world building and not read it all in one setting or something like that. But it will not take you that long at all to read the entire novel. So, and once again, what I'll do is I'm actually going to hit the pause button as soon as I get done with this one, and I'll actually go ahead and record the fourth of these, which is the rune staff itself, and for the final battles that occur. But in the meantime, what I want to do is pause and say, did you agree or disagree with my reviews? If you've read it or if you've read any of the other novels, I'd be happy to talk with you more. I'd be happy to engage you about any plot points that you may want to discuss, or any character building or developments or world building, because it's a great world building and how influential it is and so forth. I'm happy to engage you with any of those sorts of things and so forth. And once again, this series of 4 books was considered incredibly influential. It's not only did Gary Gygax not only cite Michael Moorcock's works specifically as one of the most influential works on Dungeons & Dragons and such, it's also, he specifically name-called this specific 4-book series, the Hawkmoon series, as the most influential. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why I want to start with it, because it's so influential and so forth. I also think it's one of the easiest ones to pick up and just read straight off the shelf, is this 4-book series, rather than an Elric series or something. Similarly, other things too, like Games Workshop, Warhammer 40K, and so forth, have really taken this central concepts, world building, symbols of chaos, names, magic, and so forth, and I mean, the Games Workshop worlds are literally they just feel like they're Moorcock worlds and all but name, and so forth. So anyway, for all these various reasons, for the influences that's happened and so forth, I also think it's important for me to kind of give for you today, which is good, because that's what this channel is focused on, is unpacking these classics from science fiction, fantasy, and horror that either you've heard about and have never gotten a chance to read, like I think Moorcock is probably that case for a lot of folks out there, or that you never heard about. So let's get you out there. Let's get you reading them, so you'll become familiar with them and so forth. So again, that's what this channel is for. And if you like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a whole lot more to follow. And hey, if you watch this entire video, I just want to thank you and take some time out of my day just to thank you, because you took some time out of your day to watch it. And since we all have such busy days and busy lives and things that are happening, I appreciate the fact that you took some of that time and invested it with me. Thanks again. You have a good one.